Tonight we're going to really have a treat because we have, like I like to call this brother, one of our own.
That's right.
Who's come back home.
That's right.
To share some information with us and do this presentation that you all are going to hear tonight. And the presentation is certainly aptly entitled "A Killer in the House." And we're all looking forward to this. I have this book right here, and this is a book that our brother authored, and I'm talking about none other than Sbai N.Nkosi Mundari. And he's the author of this book entitled "Genocide by Any Other Name is Still Genocide." And it's a very powerful, powerful work. And there's very few of us who tread that area of our struggle and deal with the issue of how African people are being systematically targeted for annihilation all over the globe. There's very few of us who tread in that water. So this is the brother that's going to be delivering for us tonight. And so without, and again, we have copies of this book here, so you know, after the presentation, you all be sure to, if you don't have a copy, pick up your copy. And I guarantee you, you will not be disappointed. I can guarantee that. So, without any further delay, I'm going to bring forward to you all tonight my brother, my dear brother, N.Nkosi Mundari.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
All right, let me get myself situated here, and we'll get started with our presentation. It's very, very humbling to be, as the brother mentioned, back home again. It's been a while since I've given a presentation here, and it really feels good to be standing here before you this evening. My name is N.Nkosi Mundari, and as always, I like to begin the presentation by giving homage and recognition to the one Creator, who is the source and substance from which all things came into being, and to our ancestors, who are directly responsible for us being here, who have given us life and life lessons, both positive lessons and negative lessons. Brothers and sisters, I am not here to waste your time with useless facts and data that have no bearing or no relevancy on our current circumstance and condition. And our current circumstance and condition, brothers and sisters, is open genocide. Now, what do I mean by open genocide? In street lingo, open means right in your face.
That's right.
Genocide means the deliberate and intentional targeting of a group or a person's demise. So what you have is killing. I'm killing you right in your face.
That's right.
Calling you out. This is what's happening. So I'm not here to recruit you to get the vote out. I'm not here to promote that European education is the way for African people. And I'm not here to tell you the importance of entrepreneurship and how to get your own business. And I'm certainly not here to tell you that sweet baby Jesus and Allah the merciful and the beneficent and that Yahweh is the only way.
That's right.
Because it is not.
That's right.
My purpose for sharing time with you this evening, brothers and sisters, is to act as a messenger with a message of great urgency. There's a killer in the house.
That's right.
And not just any old killer, brothers and sisters, but the real deal. A killer of killers. A diabolical butcher. And I'm talking about the kind of killer that commits genocide on one hand against the natives of this country, and on the other hand enslaved African people in one of the most brutal slave systems ever devised.
Teach.
I want to share with you what the irreverent Dr. Bobby Bright had to say about this type of killer. And I'm going to share with you out of my book, because I referenced black scholars on the subject of genocide, and of course any revolutionary-minded brother worth his salt is going to reference Dr. Bobby Wright.
That's right.
But it says that in their relationship with the black race, Europeans are psychopaths, and their behavior reflects an underlying biologically transmitted proclivity with roots deep in their evolutionary history. What does that simply mean? What that means is that the Europeans developed this very aggressive, harsh demeanor as a result of their evolutionary evolving in a very harsh and brutal ice age climate. So that's what all of those words mean. But the psychopath, and I need you to get the psychopath. The psychopath is an individual who is constantly in conflict with other persons or groups. He is unable to experience guilt. He is completely selfish, callous, and has a total disregard for the rights of others. Sound familiar? Behavioral scientists generally agree that there is no known cure for the psychopath. In fact, it is a widely held belief that the only successful treatment for the psychopath is incarceration, radical psychosurgery, or death. Therefore, this writer is forced to conclude that since blacks are at war with psychopaths, and we are, violence is the only way.
That's right.
Violence? Did someone say violence? Let's take a look at violence. Violence, by definition, is an intensely aggressive physical response to some form of stimuli, be it a natural stimulus such as with weather conditions in the case of, let's say, a hurricane or tornado or earthquake, which are often described themselves as violent. But in the case of humans and non-human animals, the stimulus represents itself in the form of a threat to oneself, to the food source, or to your offspring.
That's right.
Violence is an essential component of life. It is as important as breathing itself. It is not to be frowned upon and shied away from.
Teach.
It is to be understood and mastered. Just as we need to breathe to sustain life, we need to master violence to sustain life.
That's right. That's
It
right.
is the embracing of and the contradictory and hypocritical teachings of the European religions of Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, all tied to the fictitious Abraham,
That's right.
that are themselves inundated with violence. You are hypocritically taught to embrace non-violent concepts that confuse you and ill-prepare you to understand and master one of the most necessary functions in the universe.
That's right.
It is violence that offers harmony and balance and keeps the universe operating smoothly. The ancestors said, If you turn your face away from violence, who will punish the wrongdoers? They said, punish those who deserve punishment, and none will equal your righteousness. So, we must face violence, embrace violence, and master violence. Remember also, brothers and sisters, peace is born out of violence.
That's right.
If you demonstrate the capability and willingness to exact violence on a level comparable to your adversary,
Come on.
you will experience peace. It is no surprise that a gun is called a peacemaker. On the other hand,
That's right.
if you turn your face away from violence, you frown on violence,
Come on.
and are unwilling to understand its utmost importance and master it, then you will experience the violence of others perpetrated on you, and you will have no peace.
None.
Your vulnerability will lead to your victimization, which will ultimately lead to your extermination.
That's right.
Violence is as much a vital function of the universe as the heartbeat is to the human body. The heart beats continuously, constantly, to keep the body alive.
That's right.
If the heartbeat stops, the body ceases to function, death occurs. Violence in the universe is continuous, it is constant, in order to keep the universe alive and functioning.
That's right.
If the violence ceases, the universe ceases to function, balance is corrupted, death occurs. Violence is a manifestation
Come on.
of the functionality of universal law. I said violence is a manifestation of the functionality of universal laws. The law of self-preservation, the law of neutrality, the law of opposites. The first law of self-preservation dictates and compels you to place self and kind above and beyond anything.
That's right.
The law of neutrality simply dictates your relationship to the one creator, which is absolute neutrality, which simply means you have no help coming from on high.
Mercy.
The law of opposite dictates your relationship to other life forms in creation, be they from the same species or not,
That's right.
which is often adversarial, antagonistic, and often hostile to each other in varying degrees. Again, it is the functionality, the modus operandi, if you will, that these three laws manifest violence that is inherent, it is innate, it is built in, it is unavoidable.
That's right.
One's overwhelming and compelling drive to preserve self and kind, coupled with the understanding that there's no help coming from on high, and you understand and have antagonistic and hostile relationships with other life forms, again, even if they're from the same species, and it's important that you get that.
That's right.
This, brothers and sisters, that I just shared with you is nature's formula for violence.
That's right.
And it is those life forms in creation that demonstrate the highest degree of organized unity and the capability and willingness to master and use violence. It is these life forms, brothers and sisters, that experience maximum success
That's right.
on all levels.
That's right.
If you think about it, and this is just one example, the very joyous experience of human birth is itself a violent experience.
That's right.
Listen to me. The mother screams and curses as her body contorts to pass the baby. The baby is bloody and blood and body fluids flow. The baby is then stimulated with a whack to cry out. And if the natural process is not an option, then the same conditions persist, but the mother is then cut with a knife and scarred and disfigured to birth the baby. You know, people often use the metaphor, the early bird catches the worm. Or they repeat songs and nursery rhymes about Rockin' Robin Redbreast, making no association to the violence component. You don't want to be a worm when the robin descends upon you and snatches you out of the ground, violently shakes you to death, and then devours you. Tweedledee. There are plants that block the sunlight. I want you to get this, how violence permeates the universe. There are plants that block the sunlight from smaller plants so that they die and then they assume and take over their territory. Are you getting that? The sea lion violently shakes and rips the penguin apart with his teeth to release the fish that the penguin had devoured. If African people were to embrace and master violence as a collective, we would immediately command respect, be revered, and feared on the planet.
That's right.
And I'm not talking about or speaking of aggressive, brutal takeover, European-style behavior. I'm not talking about that.
That's right.
But I'm talking about a peaceful, loving, culture-sharing people, but from a position of demonstrated willingness and capability to fight to the death, if necessary, if our right to exist is threatened on any level, or even if we perceive, that means even if I think about it, there is a threat, we will respond in an immediate, concise, and merciless way.
That's right.
That's right.
We have tried the nonviolence approach.
Come on. Come on.
And our most prominent and revered promoter and advocate of nonviolence was himself violently assassinated.
That's right.
And of course, with the aid and assistance of some sellout Negroes. Sadly, we continue to support and aspire to those teachings and to those among us who promote and advocate nonviolence, even though we exist in the universe as I have described to you, and we have an intimate, 6,000-year-old, adversarial, antagonistic, and brutally hostile relationship with the most psychopathically violent people to ever walk the earth.
That's right. Show you right.
The next compelling question is this. What explains the behavior? I mean, the behavior of embracing nonviolence in the face of overwhelming evidence to the contrary. That this approach has no evidence of historical success, and for African people, a proven failure.
Good question.
Here's another point to consider. African people do have a history of using violence. We have demonstrated the willingness and capability to use extreme violence. So, we do understand its power to influence others to do your will. Unfortunately, sadly, our history and our willingness and capability to use extreme violence has been on each other and is noticeably absent when it comes to Europeans and Arabs.
That's right.
So now, given our intimate history of violence with each other, given our now understanding of how violence permeates the universe, and 3, given how our enemies have mercilessly used unparalleled extreme violence against us, I ask again, what explains the behavior? What explains the lack of an appropriate response to an overt, open assault on the African people? What explains the support of the African masses
Come on now.
to use the nonviolent approach when dealing with explains the behavior on a root cause level. It is one word. It is fear. It is enemy fear. It is institutionalized cowardice. Stark, naked, paralyzing fear.
That's right.
The nonviolent approach only works, is only effective from a position of power.
That's right.
So this approach is ruled out for African people as an effective tool due to our lack of power. Peace is born out of power. And a major component of that necessary power is violence. Okay, I hope that you got something out of that violence piece. It's very important that we grasp the importance of understanding the violence approach. So, what I wanted to do is to use the analogy of a killer in the house to highlight African people's response, or lack thereof in this incident, to open genocidal assault against the African people by Europeans specifically. Indeed, brothers and sisters, a killer is in the house.
That's right.
A killer has invaded our home and has begun his bloody carnage. And one lone family member is and has been warning and alerting the family to the killer's presence in the neighborhood and now in their home. As some family members cry out in pain, the majority of the family, strangely enough, and it's the damnedest thing, is responding as if the killer is not there. But there's a killer in the house. One family member responds, "Who left the lights on? And is the cable back on?" But there's a killer in the house. Another family member retorts, "I'm late for a business meeting. I'm starting my own business, you know." But what about the killer in the house? The one lone family member continues to cajole and urge his family to respond to the killer, but to no avail. Another family member brushes off the warnings and bristles with pride because her child has been accepted by USA University. And we're all so proud. We're on our way to a school orientation. Bye-bye now. But what about the killer?
That's right.
Another family member points to his watch, stating that the polls close at 7, and I must do my civic duty. But what about the killer? And still another family member states that he doesn't have time for all of that killer mess and what's going on in the neighborhood. I'm running late for choir practice. We're going to be on BET on the 4th Sunday. Check us out. And then the killer in the house goes unabated. The slaughter and destruction is unyielding.
That's right.
Soon, there will be no family members left. The sounds of life are there no more. And the house and all of its value have been taken over.
That's right.
This is an analogy, but it is an accurate analogy and makes clear the point that we are in the throes of a genocidal process.
That's right.
That is deliberately, and when I say deliberate, I mean on purpose and with great intent,
That's right.
and systematically annihilating African people across the globe. And until we begin to listen to and act on the consistent warnings by our lone family members, our present day, real life circumstance and condition, based on this analogy and based on real world, our fate as a people is a foregone conclusion. Genocide, extermination. Now, what does it take? What kind of a man does it take to deal with the killer in the house? Let's take a look at that.
Come on now.
Physical maturity in and of itself does not make a man.
That's
Right.
I said physical maturity
Say it again.
in and of itself does not make a man.
That's right.
In the non-human kingdom, physical maturity does equate to matured male. Instincts kick in, and they instinctively know that they are different and unique, and that they have enemies. They must protect their offspring to the death, unlike African people who willingly turn their children over to an enemy to be taught how to think in their schools.
That's right.
And what to believe in their churches. They instinctively know to protect the food source to the death.
That's right.
And they instinctively understand that their relationship with the one creator is a neutral relationship. You have no favors coming. These attributes for the human kingdom, specifically the male, must be learned and taught. And by the same token, can be unlearned, as has happened to the African people, particularly the African male. In the human kingdom, there are different criteria, different qualifiers that make you a man, a mature male, and they are to qualify as a real man. Real men are honest, have integrity, they are true to their word. A real man is humble, humble to the extent that he loves correction. Humble like that.
That's right.
A real man is courageous and will stand on truth. A real man should be a walking example. A real man should be a walking example of love for self and kind. Real men should provide for, preserve, and protect themselves and their kind on every level.
That's right.
And real men own land outright.
Outright.
They have a well-trained, technologically advanced military to protect them and their land.
That's right.
Real men
Real men.
practice a form of familyhood that ensures that everyone in society has the right to love, companionship, and familyhood fulfillment.
That's right.
And real men answer to no one
That's right.
but themselves. And also, a real man must have a very healthy spiritual base. And I'm not talking about religion. He must have a very healthy spiritual base
That's right.
to be in balance and in harmony with the world in which he lives in.
That's right.
Many of us have embraced the African American name. But we have embraced the African American name not from some black elevated consciousness, but from a crisis of conscience. And let's be clear. Conscious and conscience mean two different things. Conscious means awareness. Conscience is simply an internal barometer that measures one's guilt and shame. African people suffer from a crisis of conscience. We carry shame about the African association with the name. There's a shame with the African part of African American. And to save face and not to look like a sellout Negro
Come on.
in the face of obvious connection to Africa
Come on now.
with your black skin,
Come on now.
you reluctantly, with some shallow and disingenuous claim to Africa,
Come on.
you reluctantly use as part of your nationalistic name African American.
Right.
Which begs the question, and this is just food for thought. Outside of your black skin, this is just food for thought. Outside of your black skin, what is it about you that makes you African? Now, if we had men who met the criteria and satisfied the qualifiers given, then we wouldn't be in this extremely critical circumstance condition that we find ourselves in, with a killer in the house. Indeed,
That's right.
it is an irrational, irresponsible, and immature boy that would allow himself, his family, his community and his nation to depend on another, an enemy no less, for food, clothing, housing, a job, medical attention, education, protection, etc. Black men, African men, let us become African men who are free and independent, and find our own reality and answer to no one but ourselves. Remember, and always remember, a true warrior will follow truth no matter where it may lead. And I'm talking about the real deal. No matter how fearful you get, no matter how uncomfortable you get, and no matter who you make uncomfortable, you stand on truth.
That's right.
The ancients say, man, know thyself. They didn't say, boy, know thyself.
That's right.
You see, boys learn from men. But when boys learn from boys, a vicious perpetual cycle of boys are produced who are ill prepared to handle the serious rigors and responsibilities needed for men and their kind to survive and thrive. Remember, we must take the business of survival dead serious, because it is dead that will be the outcome if we don't.
That's right.
Now, what are some of the things that stand in the way of us dealing with the killer in the house?
Good question.
It is two things. The overwhelming number of blacks give their support and power to two primary issues in the black community. And it is these two issues that get the bulk of our very precious time, energy, and resources, because they're running out. What is especially troubling for me, and this is where my angst is, personally, if not most of the black conscious community, most of them are on board with this prioritizing of these two issues that I'm going to talk about, and choosing not to direct our very precious time and energy and resources to the number one issue faced by the African people. And the number one issue faced by the African people, bar none, and I mean nothing comes close to this, is genocide.
That's right. That's right.
Now I'm going to go out on the limb and say that these brothers and sisters who claim black consciousness
Come on now.
would not argue that genocide is at hand. And many would also claim that they're aware of this genocide and that this kind of information has been around for a while. Well, I would concur. But I would further the point by sharing how long this issue has been of importance to Europeans and how long those from amongst us who have been warning African people of this deadly reality. I have a list here that I'm going to share with you to give you some insight how long Europeans have been on the page of population control and how long African scholars amongst us have been warning African people about how European population control has turned into genocide for African people.
Come on now.
The first one is an essay on the principle of population. This is by Thomas Malthus, 1798. You guys get these dates. On the Origins of Species by Charles Darwin, 1859.
That's right.
Principles of Biology, Herbert Spencer, 1864.
Come on.
Inquiries into Human Faculty and Its Development, Francis Galton, 1883.
Come on.
Now these are the African brothers who are our own, who have had the courage to stand on the truth that genocide is real for us. Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey, by Marcus Garvey, 1925. We Charge Genocide, William L. Patterson, 1951. The Destruction of Black Civilization, Dr. Chancellor Williams, 19 1971. The Choice by Brother Sam Yet, The Issue of Black Survival in America, 1971. Who Needs the Negro? Sidney M. Wilhelm, 1971. The Psychopathic Racial Personality, Dr. Bobby Wright, 1974. White Genocide, Black Obsolescence by Brother Olamenji, 1984. Black on Black Violence, The Psychodynamics of Black Self-Annihilation in the Service of White Domination, Dr. Amos N. Wilson, 1990. Notes for an African World Revolution by Dr. John Henry Clark, 1991. Tribalism, Mysticism, Primitivism, and the Rise of Genocide Against the African World by Dr. Batu Shikari, 1991. And Genocide by Any Other Name is Still Genocide by yours truly, 2012. Okay. Now, again, why would we know this information and not respond appropriately to a critical life and death situation, an out-and-out assault on the African people? Once again, it is enemy fear. We have chosen to focus on economics and reparations. Two issues that are safe bandwagons to jump on and come off as addressing serious issues, but safe enough where no serious commitment or change is necessary.
That's right.
You can continue to embrace the European way, all while talking tough about black issues.
Right.
You continue to get the vote out. You continue to ceaselessly pursue European money as if it were a god.
That's right.
You continue to fill up the churches, mosques, and temples.
Come on, man.
And you continue to sell our children and each other that the European training in their educational system is the best thing for African people.
That's right.
All of these institutions, all are death traps,
That's right.
and are especially designed to ensure that European power goes unchallenged and that African people continue their downward spiral into oblivion.
Teach.
Let me share something with you. I have this memo. And this memo, I'm not going to go through all of it, but I want to make some points here with you. This memo is called the NSCM 46 memo. And what this memo is this is a memo initiated by then President Jimmy Carter. This is from March 17, 1978. So it's very important that you get what I'm sharing here with you. And this is what I want you to get out of this document. First, I want you to get the level of commitment to the issue at hand. And the issue at hand is me and you, brothers and sisters. But this is from the President, CC, to the Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, CIA, FBI, and all of their institutions, schools, military, law, politics, and economics. Secondly, I want you to see how they are long-range planners. Long-range planners. And what you see happening today, this push for economics, was well planned out. Let's take a look. The third thing is their major concern with ensuring that those who are conscious here in the United States never ever hook up with the conscious brothers on the continent. They made special attention to that. Also, the pre-packaged and pre-selected of these presidential candidates long before you vote. Your vote is nothing but an insignificant part of a massive political charade. And I also want you to see how every president, including all of the black favorites, you know, Lincoln, Kennedy, Carter, Clinton, and the one that you have in there right now. All of these presidents and every president that we've had have made policy issues, decisions that were detrimental to the African people here and in Africa. Did you hear what I said? I said every single president has made decisions that were detrimental to you here and to you in Africa, including the one that's in there right now. Make sure you get that part. This guy was twisting the arm presidents, 2 of them specifically in Africa, because they were hard on the homosexuals.
Come on now.
Obama calls them up and threatens to take away the $400 million if he don't lighten up.
That's right.
That's coming from your Obama, pushing homosexuality in Africa.
That's right. That's right.
Sure,
Right.
Okay. NSCM 46, and I'm going to go right here to page 8 here, and I want to share with you so that you can get a taste of how these devils have set us up for the slaughter. Since the mid-1960s, when legislation on human rights was passed and Dr. King was murdered, it says federal and local measures to improve black welfare have been taken.
That's right.
As a result of which, what's the result? That U.S. black movement has undergone considerable changes. What is considerable changes? The considerable change is no more Black Holland.
Come on.
No more James Brown, say it loud. That's out.
Come on.
That's replaced with, let's get some money.
Come on now.
It says social and economic issues have supplanted political aims, which is black nationalism for us, as the main preoccupation of the movement, which it was, and actions formerly planned on a nationwide scale is now being organized locally. So they've reduced it to local. The institute is there, this institute is there. This is what they have done to us, scattered us. But this is the move that they made. They said sharp social stratification of the black population and lack of policy options which would reunite them. The key word there is sharp social stratification. What does that mean? That means that they are going to shoot up some of us to have a lot of money and material things. So Oprah having $1 billion, this is part of the plan.
That's right.
See, it's the carrot and stick. I'm going to stick the carrot out there for you, which is Oprah and her money.
Come on.
And now all of us think, we can do that. She got $1 billion, she look like me, I can do it. So things must be getting better. They're not. It's a play. It's a play for to set you up for slaughter. It says to enlarge programs for the improvement of the social and economic welfare of American blacks in order to ensure continuing development of present trends in the black community. And those present trends are, once again, economics. Economics. That's all you hear.
That's right.
To support actions designed to sharpen, again, social stratification in the black community, which would lead to the widening and perpetuation of the gap between successful educated blacks and the poor. Is that happening? Of course it is. Giving rise to growing antagonism between different black groups and the weakening of the movement as a whole. They planned it out for you.
That's right.
This is coming from the President of the United States.
That's right.
One of your favorites. It says here, to support the nomination of federal and local levels of loyal black public figures to elective office, to government agencies, and to the court. This is why you see a plethora of black judges and politicians, and you have one in the House right now, halfway in the House. First, it would be easier to control the activity of loyal black representatives within existing institutions, which simply means if you adhere to my institutions, I control you to that degree. I got you. Secondly, it says the idea of an independent black political party, now under discussion, but this was in '78, within black leadership circles would soon lose all support. This was in '78, the support is all gone. So, I wanted you to get something from a memo like this coming from one of your favorites, Jimmy Carter, the peanut guy.
That's right.
But he's slamming you to the ground.
That's right.
You make no mistake about it. And it doesn't matter who they put in this system.
That's right.
The toughest of us, the tough talking of us, if you go into that system, you're going to do what they tell you to do.
That's
Or
right.
you're going to come up asleep
Yes.
forever.
That's right.
Here's another issue of concern that stands in the way. And this has to do with economics. Now, dedicated a chapter in my book to economics entitled Economics 101. And I also dedicated a chapter in this book. We're going to touch on reparations in a second here. But I also dedicated a chapter in this book on reparations. And it was entitled Reparations, A Coward's Move. Okay, in reference to economics, pay attention to this, brothers and sisters, because I know a lot of us have been exposed to the brothers and sisters on many levels who are talking economic talk, getting land in the South, getting land in Indiana. I want you to pay attention. True, big boy, grown-up economics is outright ownership of land.
That's right.
And the production of all of your wants and needs.
Yes.
From earth to finished product.
That's right.
Did you hear what I said?
That's right.
And as long as you control every step in that process, now you're talking power. And I mean serious power.
That's right.
From earth to finished product, I'm getting ready to use it. Like the big boys. And what we do, what blacks do to sell economics amongst each other is we like to tout Tulsa, Oklahoma, Greenwood, 1921. This is what's often referenced. You see, we see what we want to see. And this is driven by fear. And not to learn the most valuable lessons of that experience. We foolishly set up with a copycat European system, and nothing at all was African about Black Wall Street.
That's right. That's right.
In our enemy's house. And didn't we expect any consequences? I mean, we had just, this is 1921. They just got their foot out of our butt just a little while ago. You mean we forgot that quick? We, out of fear, refuse to see the European for the vicious psychopath that he is.
That's right.
It's out of fear. The most valuable lesson that we were doing was play economics. You know, like play brother, play cousin, etc. We decided against the true nation building and focused on only one aspect, one system of nation building. Nations function on systems, 12 systems. And the systems missing from Black Wall Street, the most important system in that scenario was a military system.
That's right.
A military system to protect whatever it is that you create. So here we go again, focusing on economics exclusively, without the real work that goes into nation building.
That's right. Right.
True economics has nothing at all to do with money.
That's right.
Need I repeat that?
Yes, sir.
I said true economics has nothing at all to do with money.
Teach.
Money is a non-commodity. It does not even have the ability to replicate itself, and a cockroach can do that. We also refuse to see the wicked and rotten, corrupt system of capitalism for what it is.
That's right.
The worst economic system ever devised for a people, but it is tailor-made like a glove for Europeans. A system based on greed. It does not meet the needs of all of its citizens. It is an uncivilized and barbaric system.
That's right.
Also, especially for the black conscious community, we've learned nothing from the brilliance of Dr. Bobby Wright, who made it clear that blacks cannot continue to appeal to European sense of humanity, their sense of morality, or their sense of justice or fair play. When they have no humanity, they have no morality, and they have no sense of justice or fair play, when race is the variable, and we, brothers and sisters, are that variable. It is us. So we must remember, right and wrong are relative. Slavery for whites was good.
That's right.
Slavery for blacks was bad.
Right.
It's relative. They have no obligation whatsoever to do right by you.
None. Right. None. None.
They have no obligation to do right by you. And if they are to do right by you, it's because you made them.
That's right. That's right.
If they are to do right by you, it's because you made them do right by you. Nothing else. How can you ask for something to be repaired and made whole again while you continue to be under attack and being destroyed? Your enslavement is unbroken and ongoing.
That's right.
Now, reparations.
Okay.
First, reparations is an insult.
That's
It
right.
is a spit in the face
That's right.
to our ancestors who suffered and died at the hands of these barbarians
That's
and
right.
spilled rivers of African blood.
That's right.
Dr. Bobby Wright said these words. He said, blood for blood. He said, someone has to pay for spilling African blood. Secondly, we're coming from a beggar's position. The first time is asking. And I'll even give you 2 times. I'll give you that for asking. But after that, you're begging. And since we've been seeking reparations now for some decades, it is beyond clear and beyond argument that we're begging. And it doesn't change not one iota that you use the word demand. You like to do that one, right? Demand is a strong, forceful word,
Right.
which implies consequences
Right.
if the demand is not met.
That's right.
Well, our use of the word demand is nothing more than empty rhetoric that is backed up by nothing.
Nothing.
There is no plan B, because plan B calls for action.
That's right.
In the eyes of the international community, and I always like to reference it, the Europeans are making us look like fools, cowards, since everyone is clear that Europeans have heard your countless requests, they know what they have done to you, and they refuse to respond favorably because they know your words are empty and backed up by nothing. And psychopaths are not remorseful.
That's right. Teach.
You also like to quote different laws in different states to bolster your position of reparations. Laws created by Europeans and laws that can be changed by Europeans.
That's right.
You also like to use examples of other scenarios where reparations were given. Usually it's the same 3. The Jews and the Germans, the Europeans and the natives of this country, and the Europeans and the Japanese. Those are the ones that they like to throw up. Now, only one of those 3 that I just gave you qualifies for reparations. Did you hear me? Only one of the 3 I just gave you, which they always like to tout, only one qualifies for reparations. Let's go through it. First, the Germans and the Jews. This is a family squabble. These are the same people.
That's right.
This is in-house deal. So they're squabbling on who's going to control what, but it's going to be one of them.
Right.
That's not reparations. That's a household deal. You can toss that one out.
Okay.
Europeans and the natives of this country. This is an insult and a spit in the face to the natives of this country after genocide has been committed against them to the tune of 95% of them wiped out, and then the remainder of them are on some useless land, and they're still suffering from a lot of social malady
That's right.
right now.
That's right.
So anything less than those people getting their people back and their land back is an insult. That's not reparations.
That's right.
Toss that one out. The Europeans and the Japanese. Now, this one is reparations. You know why? The Japanese are a force to be reckoned with. The Japanese are a nationalistic people. And they have demonstrated over time that they'll go to war.
Yes.
They'll get busy with you. You remember that it was the Japanese. They were on their way here. They were bringing the fight here. So you have to remember that these, even though their hands were tied militarily after the Second World War, they showed their resolve. They showed their resolve by coming at you economically, still showing you that we got fire. The Japanese had always been the bullies over in Asia for many years,
That's
for
right.
many centuries. They were the
That's
bullies
right.
over there.
That's right.
So they have enemies. So we need to pay attention to the Japanese. That's not going to stand for very long. So those were the three that I'm talking about. And only one with the Japanese. That's the only one that is a true reparation. Now, another most glaring point about these three examples that they always give you is that not one of them were black people. Not one. So we cannot use those examples, and they're useless waste of time.
That's right.
Now, what is it that we can do, brothers and sisters? What is it that we can do? There's some things that we can do. We don't have our hands tied. We can't do anything.
That's right.
But we've allowed ourselves to be painted into a corner where we have to really do some hard work now. But we can come out of it.
That's right.
I wanted to impart urgency, and I wanted to take a look at the role and responsibility that each of us individually play in whether African people live or African people die.
Come on.
I wanted to point out that we individually, each one of you African black people, must self-assess. You must take a look at yourself and reprioritize your values. And we must get intimate and personal with the mirror. Well, therein lies your problem, and therein lies your solution.
That's it.
We must be honest
That's right.
and ask ourselves, what European institutions are you continuing to support? Institutions that are in place to ensure that Europeans stay in power, and on top, that all non-Europeans remain powerless and at the bottom. I speak specifically of what I refer to as the Big Four. European politics, European education, European economics, and European religion, all three associated once again with the fictitious Abraham. Now, what aspects of European culture do you continue to promote and practice?
Come on now.
European names, European clothing and hairstyles. How about celebrating their holidays and having their worldview and their values? Once we honestly assess, we must then make a choice to either continue with the choices that we've made thus far, which have brought us to this point, or we commit to a new way of thinking, a new way of behaving, and a new way of believing, and a more African-centered, more African-conscious, and a more African-committed appearance. This is where our responsibility manifests itself.
That's right.
We ask ourselves this also: are we integrationists or are we black liberationists? The integrationist camp simply means that you believe that you can somehow get along and live happily ever after, rainbow coalition with white people. Integration. You either believe that, or you have come to the reality that the only way that we can get along with African people is from a position of power, and that is from our own modern and independent civilization and culture. Europeans have also been wrestling with, it is past time that the urgency needed is reflected in our thoughts and actions. And let us begin to get behind those who are true soldiers among us, who are genuinely and consistently working for freedom and independence, black liberation without compromise, unapologetic, and void of sentiment, and the rebuilding, once again, of our own modern and independent civilization and culture.
That's right.
Let us seek them out and support those who are doing the work, and let's truly begin to appropriately respond to the genocide that is at hand. And as Dr. Bobby Wright would say, we want to win. Let's take a look at the need for institutions, African-centered institutions. We need our own African-centered institutions with specific curriculum. Just because it has Africa or some African-sounding name in the title is not good enough.
That's right.
What is the curriculum?
Okay.
Now, didn't Oprah Winfrey open up a school in South Africa? An all-black school, all black teachers, all black students in the motherland, in Africa? Now, you think those students are being taught to love themselves and their own kind, above and beyond anything? And that we should use any of our talents and skills and abilities that we acquire to advance and empower our own people first and foremost? Do you think they're being taught that? No. Of course not.
No, sir.
They're being taught to love everybody.
That's right.
And they're being taught a European worldview and are being trained to get a good job, a non-existing job, and to support the corrupt and rotten European system and institutions that are in place here and in the motherland.
That's right. That's right.
It must be institutions that have curriculum that is specifically address specific African social maladies. First and foremost is the mental side, coined by Dr. Bobby Wright, is the mental destruction, or the mental destruction of the African people, and offer a new scientific-based, nature-backed spiritual orientation, and a new scientific-based, nature-backed approach to nation building.
That's right.
The Honorable Marcus Garvey said, if Africa is to be free, it will only be if Africans free themselves mentally, spiritually, and politically. He said those words nearly 100 years ago, and the brother gave you the formula for the curriculum in the institutions. How about that? The African god Osiris is accredited with these words. He said, truth does not win popularity contests, and truth does not draw a crowd. So that explains the lack of support for the African World Research Institute. This institute has been here for almost 20 years.
That's right.
And because we have not been compromising, we don't get the support. It goes right back to what the Osiris said. Does not draw a crowd. Truth does not draw a crowd. So if you stand on truth, then we have a problem in the black community. So as we begin to close, I want to share with you some quotes and some philosophies. And when I talk about African philosophies, I'm talking about to-do philosophies, just not conscious sounding words, but these are to-do words. Now, what should our life philosophy be? It should be the needs of the collective comes before the wants of the individual, which simply means that my people come before me. We did not produce our people. Our people produced us. So we owe an allegiance to those who produced us.
That's right.
What should our values be? Our values should be people, land, and knowledge. It is land that provides the sustenance to sustain our existence. And land provides all of your wants and needs, but you need people who have knowledge to produce it. What should our virtues be? Our virtues should be for us to be righteous people, to be skilled, to be intelligent. We should live right, be right, and do right. we should be skilled. And I'm not talking about being skilled in dunking a basketball, or doing some juvenile buck dancing after a touchdown, or singing, acting, dancing, rapping, or telling some jokes. These abilities relegate you to the status of entertainers. And you can throw the Negro preacher in there too. Now I'm talking about life-sustaining skill, like building institutions, producing all of our wants and needs, as I said before, from earth to product, which means that you own land outright. The ability to build cities with plumbing, and lights, and sewer systems, and the ability to go from one planet to another planet, and the ability to protect you and your land with a well-trained, technologically advanced military. Hear these words, brothers and sisters. Entertainers have never built nations. Nations have always been built by serious, skilled men and women. Dr. Bobby Wright, one of my favorites, he said, in a racist social system, which is the one we live in, he said all of the institutions in that system reflect, protect, and sustain all of the values that are consistent with racism.
Yes, it does.
In other words, the institutions keep the racism alive. So when you embrace European social systems, what you do in fact is lend a helping hand. You play a role in your own demise.
That's right.
He also said that all of the institutions serve to perpetuate the racist social theory or the racist thinking of those who created the system. So what this says is that the raping, lying, thieving, murdering, land-grabbing slave owners who established this country and the thinking that is associated with that type of behavior is kept alive by their institutions, which are maintained by their descendants and their running dog, Latin European wannabes. He also said that blacks cannot continue to appeal to European sense of morality, their sense of humanity, sense of justice, morality, or fair play, because they have none. They have no humanity, no sense of justice or fair play, where race is the variable. And brothers and sisters, that variable is me and you. The Honorable Marcus Garvey said, one God, one aim, one destiny. The brother understood the importance of all African people sharing one understanding of the Creator. And our aim should be the obtaining of freedom and independence without compromise. And our destiny should be the maintaining of freedom and independence once it's obtained. He also said, a people without the knowledge of their history is like a tree without a root. And we all know that a tree without root soon topples over and dies. But we as a people have already toppled over and are in the process of dying. Marcus Garvey also said these words. He said, those of us who have developed the mind scientifically, and I sure want you to get this. He said, those of us who have developed the mind scientifically are compelled by duty to go amongst the millions of unthinking masses and convince them of the seriousness of the age in which we live. Now, he didn't say those who have developed the mind superstitiously, or those who have developed the mind through the Bible, or those who have been washed in the blood of Jesus. He said those who have developed the mind scientifically. You see, the universe we live in can only be understood through the medium of science, not superstition.
That's right.
He also said these words. He said, if hell is what we were taught that hell is, and we all know what they taught us that it was. He said that there will be more Christians in hell than days in all of creation. Be reminded, brothers and sisters, that Marcus Garvey himself professed to being a Christian. But as a result of his encounters with other Christians, this is the conclusion that he drew. Brother Sam Yet, who who wrote the book, The Choice, and said these words, powerful words. So powerful that Dr. Bobby Wright, who wrote the intro on the book, said that these words are worth the price of the book alone, and I concur 100%. He said, we have two choices. One is liberation. The second is liquidation. He said, right now what we have is pacification. Oprah, half-black president. Pacification does not mean liberation. You gotta get this. Pacification does not mean liberation, and pacification does not stop liquidation. So just because you got the half-black president, Oprah got a billion, Michael got whatever he got, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill you anyway. I'm putting you to sleep. Let me share this with you from a Chinese philosopher by the name of Master Lao. His name was Lao Tzu, or we refer to him as Master Lao. And I ran across these during my studies, and I just had to hold on to these words. He said, and Master Lao goes back to the 6th century BC. 6th century BC, Chinese philosopher. He said, if our lives are not in tune with the universal truths of life, then we are in the process of dying. That's powerful stuff right there. Powerful words right there, speaking to the importance of universal law and embracing those laws and putting them into effect. Okay, we're almost out of here. What is it that we can do right now? Each of us, what you can do. What can I do? All of this stuff Nkosi talking about. What can I do? Well, first thing you do is you thoroughly learn your history. And I'm talking about pre-slave history. Because you understand pre-slave history, then you understand how you became a slave. Secondly, you learn to love the way that you were created by the one creator.
That's right.
You love your natural self.
That's right.
Your thick and curly hair,
Yes.
your generous nose and lips,
Come on.
your beautiful black skin.
Yes.
You love it. You select and embrace an African name for yourself and your children. This is a major step towards reclaiming yourself.
That's right.
It is a very revolutionary step. And also understand the difference between an African name and an Arab name. Keep your homework.
That's right.
Wear African clothing and African jewelry as often as possible.
Right.
Keep a map of Africa and an African flag, red, black, and green, on display in your home as a constant reminder, a constant acknowledgement and reinforcement of your identification with the people, land, and culture of your origin, where you came from.
Right.
You stop smoking and drinking and drugging. You treat your body
Teach.
like the sanctuary that it is,
Teach.
so that you may benefit yourself individually and that we may benefit from you collectively. We must learn to always seek the highest truth, the best way of that which makes the most sense in all that we do.
That's right.
Again, it is the way of a true warrior, and I'm talking about the real deal. To follow truth, no matter where it may lead.
That's right.
Commit yourself to positive change in thought and in action. Finally, support and contribute on a consistent basis, brothers and sisters, to institutions and organizations that you've identified that are doing the work, that are working for the total freedom and independence of all African people globally. This is a global issue.
That's right.
In the rebuilding of our own modern and independent civilization and culture. This is the answer to our problems, nothing else. So in closing, I hope that I have shared something that will compel you to genuinely commit, to move, to make serious change, to appropriately prepare us to deal effectively with the killer in the house.
That's right. That's
We
right.
say in our African tongue, brothers and sisters, Uhuru na Uhuru, Bila ya Mapatano Tutashenda. Abibi Fahodi, Amandla Ngawitu. Freedom and independence without compromise. The struggle continues. Black liberation. All power to the people. Asante Sana.